Welcome to the Liberation Lab podcast, insights and interviews for the disruptive educator. And this is a solo episode, and I'm really excited to kind of dive into this much needed topic. I want to start it with a question. Why is it that change is so hard? You think about the notion of education and what those who desire for improved outcomes for students are crying out for. And it all starts with change. But why is it so hard? Why does it seem like we've been saying the same things ad nauseum for such a long time? Well, this time of year, we invest in gym memberships and diet plans and even Ozempic. We attend classes and seminars and we hope for transformation. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks later, we find that many people who embarked on a journey of change fizzle out about 6 weeks later. What that tells us is that change is a personal, hard mountain to climb. But this is the paradox, if you will, of change. Change as a concept is universally appealing because it exists in our own minds. You see, when I create an ethic of change or create a concept of change somewhere um, with something, everyone loves it. Everyone accepts it. Everyone thinks it's the greatest idea ever. It costs nothing, impacts no one, and allows us to imagine a better reality without sacrifice. But real change, that demands effort. It calls us to disrupt. It asks us to abandon comfort and step into uncertainty. And that, disruptor, is where the struggle lies. Change as a concept is something that I forge, and it is fueled with imagination. Change in reality is fueled by perspiration. We have to work at this thing. But not only that, imagine what happens when you are asked to let go of something that has served you well, even if it's harmful to someone else. Imagine if that habit, that belief, that system, that thing that we are asking folks to embrace is asking them also to change something that is a deeply personal belief. So you want me to lose sight of what I hold dear in order to be uncomfortable for something that may or may not come? And this is why change is hard. The essence of why resistance comes up. And I'm speaking from experience as a school leader, as an educator, as someone who goes to schools to help serve such change. Inevitably, when you ask for change, people are going to resist because change forces us to come face to face with our discomfort. It disrupts our deeply held beliefs, the things that go unquestioned in school. It disrupts our own values and traditions. It asks us to interrogate things that maybe for us was nothing that we thought we needed to do. Think about the things that go unquestioned in school. Don't smile until January. Don't that if learning is happening, it is happening because it is quiet and students are in rows and they're silent and working, because silent and compliant classrooms mean learning is taking place. Or how about that when you want to embrace an ethic of teaching to the whole child, you're just adding another thing. And here's where the rubber really meets the road, right? Because I get it. Education is continually held together with failed system after failed system. Failure to launch should be an alternate name for education. So, when we think about the ethic of change and we think about how we even started this conversation with regard to our personal growth plans and the new year and things like that, I think that there is a an almost mirrored experience. Because just as personal change is hard, systemic change, like reforming education, is even tougher. Because it's not just one person, but it's an entire group of people letting go of ingrained practices. I read a phenomenal book that I would encourage any school leader, educator to take hold of. It's actually right up here. It is called Transforming School Culture by Dr. Anthony Muhammad. It is called Transforming School Culture. And in it, he talks about four different types of teachers that exist in our school. He talks about the believers, those ready to charge the hill, who believe in the change that you are trying to bring as a school leader. He talks about the tweeners. Those are the folks that kind of vacillate between different camps because they're trying to find their way. He talks about the fundamentalists. Those are the folks, they succeeded in education as is and believe that every student should be able to do what they did. I sat down and I listened to the teacher. I got tough love and I survived. You should be able to do it too. Those people that forget that the essence of tough love is the love part. But I digress. And then you have your survivors. Those are the folks, they have reached the end. They are about to retire and they are just packing it in. And here's the thing with education, with transformation, and with those four different groups, each of them have a personal belief about what change needs to happen in school. For your believer, they believe what you believe. They believe that things need to change, the school, that we need to improve student outcomes. They believe in teaching to the whole child and having a trauma sensitive ethic about their school. Believe in creating environments that belong to the students, that centering the students in the decision making process, and they believe in accountability. They believe in reflection. Your tweeners, they might have espoused beliefs that come from all different camps. Your fundamentalists believe that the only change that needs to happen might be to the people advocating for change. This works. I've seen it work. I've been successful. And your survivors only hear change as added work when they're on the way out. So now imagine bringing together, and this might change in terms of how many of each group you have in your school, but at the end of the day, imagine trying to create a system of change with these folks all in your school, asking them to let go of ingrained practices. Quiet as it's kept, true school change isn't about surface level fixes. It's about confronting the attitudes, the beliefs, and the practices that we've normalized for generations. This can feel daunting, right? But it can also be a call to hope, understanding that systemic change starts with individual transformation. When we think about our stakeholders at various ways, we think about our parents who trust the very best in themselves and bring their babies to our school. We think about the student who's growing, developing, changing, and trying to figure out how to make all of that work in the 8 hours that they have with their friends, with their teachers, with the culture of school changing from class to class. And then on top of that, think about the teacher shortage crisis. So now they're going from a class with a teacher, a certified educator who may have expectations, to a sub who is just trying to hold it together with bubblegum. Your teachers who come on varying sides of the aisle, cross generational disparities, and differences. Political spectrum is wide and vast. Cultural perspectives might be differing. And you're asking all of those folks to hope, believe? Like, let me personalize this for a second. A few months into year one as the principal of the school that I serve. And in my school, I knew that there was a need to embrace change. And I wanted it to be so clear for my staff that I wanted to put it in our vision statement. Adapt, believe, connect. How will we adapt our teaching, our leading, our serving of our students to improve their outcomes while giving them access to grade level work? How will we believe in their innate genius? And then how will we connect with them, their families, and the community in ways that are meaningful and impactful? These are our guiding questions. And I wanted to be outright about what it was that was going to be my leadership distinctive. And as much as anywhere want change, they want a comfortable change that does not ask them to do anything. Any change that costs anything can be put off to tomorrow, can be delayed and denied. It's why we want the cheap fixes. It's why Ozempic is so marketable, because it gets us to the goal so much faster with so much less effort. Now think about the things that go unquestioned in school when we prioritize compliance over compassion, when we have strict dress codes and punitive grading policies, and believe that these systems are supposed to nurture growth when they actually just maintain control. Again, we don't question enough. And let me pause here and parenthetically insert that part of the reason that change is so difficult is because our questions honestly suck. We lose imagination. We stop asking the right questions because we'd rather short circuit the path to change and deviate and go to the path of comfort. What do I mean? We will accept systems of punishment and control because that's what's always happened. That's how the previous teacher or my mentor or somebody that I respect was successful. They did it in ways that were dehumanizing. So I should too. We don't ask ourselves who benefits from the current system as is, who has something to gain. This is why it's so important for us to think about systems of power and privilege, because it doesn't matter one's racialized identity. If you're not being critical in your thought and in your questions, you'll adopt the same systems believing that it's going to benefit your students because you look like them. To say it plainly, there are far too many black leaders in systems adopting have been forged by and um, there are far too many black leaders adopting white systems to serve black students. Systems that further dehumanize, control, and constrict. We are so fixated with the black body that we know nothing about the black mind. It's why we go to the same 5 people come next month. Malcolm, maybe. Martin, Rosa, maybe we'll throw in Thurgood, just so we know he's the first Supreme Court justice. And we'll sit there. We'll stay there. We'll ignore the Baldwins and the Fannie Lou Hamers. We'll go to the regular spaces to view, quote, black excellence, because we rarely are confronted with the genius that exists in black bodies. So we don't ask ourselves who benefits. We don't ask ourselves who is excluded or harmed. We have to be very careful here because students, children, are a marginalized people group. How often do we tell them what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and never ask them what they want, how they'd like to get there, and embrace their ideas? We don't ask ourselves, where does the power reside and how is it wielded? We have laissez-faire leaders who are quick to allow everyone else to just do what they want so that they can exist in comfort. You got the overseer who is quick to wield their power to let everybody else know that they are in control. If there are any Game of Thrones fans out there who are listening, then you know about Joffrey and when he took the Iron Throne and he went around telling everybody that he was the king. But nobody respected him. They respected the power that exists in the seat. They respected their cultural ways of being. But he himself, he was no king. How many superintendents, principals, teacher leaders, supervisors exist the same way, where they wield power to only show people who's in control, but don't use their power to further empower others? We got to critique these systems. Why do the same outcomes continue to replicate themselves? If I were to show you the 2022 NAEP scores according to race, without giving you what each racial category was, you could be able to pick out, based upon what the bar graph looked like, who was white, who was black, who was Asian, who was Native American, Pacific Islander, who was Hispanic. How is it that the outcomes of schools are so predictable and yet and still we're so comfortable with continuing to replicate? This conveyor belt of education has to stop. We're doing this quick product fix of just assembling the same kind of teacher to educate a different type of student. So change is hard because that's the reality of the system that we work in. That even if you have great leadership who is going to critique and try to change certain things, the people who exist within those systems are going to cry out because change brings discomfort. So here's the call that rests on our shoulders. We must start with personal reflection. What beliefs, habits, or practices that exist in our life that are in need of rethinking, reimagining? Sit down and really think about this. How do you interact with power? How do you think about respect? How do you think about acknowledgement and what constitutes learning? How are these beliefs impacting others, especially those with less power or privilege? I've said this as an example, but I'll put myself out there. I was born and raised in a military family. My grandfather was a veteran in Vietnam, and he taught me that respect meant that I look a person in their eyes and I say, yes, sir, no, sir. I give a firm handshake. So I'm in school with a student who looks like me. He's funny, he's charismatic, he's a middle schooler, and that's a dangerous combination. So he cracks jokes to move away from the math that I'm trying to teach him, which ignites a conversation in the hallway because now he's disrupted my class. Fast forward, now that we have this opportunity to talk, guess what this student chooses not to do? Look me in the eye. How do I interpret that situation? I interpret it as disrespect. To the student, though, he was just trying to grapple with shame from getting removed from the classroom for obviously disrupting and potentially making mad or upset a teacher that he cared about, who cared about him. The conversation goes left, and I mean quickly, because I feel disrespected. And now, when I felt disrespected, I didn't have the emotional maturity to be able to deal with that in a constructive way. Imagine if I had done the reflection beforehand. So you start with your reflection, but you also have to be intentional about discomfort. Change requires you to sit with discomfort and learn from it. Why am I uncomfortable in this? What is this asking me to do? Why is this discomfort present in my life? And now, because of this discomfort, what can I let go to create room for the growth that I need? What can I let go to create room for the growth that I need? Thirdly, here's a big one. We have to redefine success, my God. Completing a checklist, while it might be informative, can't be the win. We have to shift from compliance to connection. And when I say this, here's the problem. Every time you invite that type of shift, people center themselves. I'm asking us to center the student. That your discomfort as an educator should never take precedent over the success of our students, of our learners. We must prioritize relationships and human growth over metrics and numbers. And hear me, I'm telling you as someone who tries as much as possible to make data informed decisions. But you know what I try to do is to remember that those data points are actual human beings. When I meet with my team, when I meet with my staff, when I meet with schools that I work with, I remind them that these numbers represent people. I ask them to actually name a student. We're meeting today because of Gavin. We're meeting today because of Jemiah. We're meeting today because of Chidasa. When you remember that it is about people, and you remember that it's not just about the score you get or the grade you got, or did you get a 4 on the Danielson? It changes a lot for in terms of what you define as success. But number 4, we must foster community accountability. Change can't happen in isolation. Too often, schools become cesspools of complaining, and we don't surround ourselves with people who will push us and challenge us and hold us accountable. We surround ourselves with people who agree with the same points that we do, because at the end of the day, change is too hard to embrace, because discomfort is not a tool for our growth. It is something that makes us uncomfortable. So as you're thinking about your personal growth and journey, I'm going to invite you to choose just one area to disrupt. Something in your classroom, your workplace, your personal life. One system, one belief, one practice to challenge. Just one. Commit to learning and unlearning. Read, listen, and engage with perspectives unlike your own, that ones that will challenge your worldview. And I mean this on every side. I listen to, even though I don't agree with folks like Candace Owens. I listen to folks with varying beliefs because I want to know why they think what they think. I want to know if it's going to inform even better what it is that I believe. And hear me, sometimes they make valid points that refine my approach. And here's the part about measuring success: take small, consistent actions. Change isn't about grand gestures. It's about these daily intentional steps that we make towards the future we desire. Because when change is a concept, everything is automatically redone. Everyone is existing in this new embraced reality of our own imagination. But in reality, change doesn't work like that. It's incremental. It's hard. It comes with roadblocks and speed bumps. It comes with delays. But the beautiful part about delays is not denial. Change is an invitation. It's a call to let go of what is comfortable and familiar in the pursuit of something better, not just for ourselves, but for those around us, not even push us as educators, for our students. So, disruptor, I hope that this is a year of change for you, that you step into discomfort, you're brave enough to disrupt, courageous enough to question, and committed enough to transform. Until next time, y'all, I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Let's keep pushing.